This is Ivy Unleashed, a Gold Ivy production. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Thank you for joining us. We have a guest in-house today. We have Webster Ford. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to being part of this for as long as I've been listening to you, which it's been all the time. So
yeah,
thanks for having me here.
Of course. Thanks for being here. We're so happy to chat with you. Webster is my friend because he taught my kids, and everybody knows because I can't help but cry anytime I have a parent-teacher conference, even no matter what age they are. I think teachers are angels, and Webster is just a unique guy. When especially my son was going to school, he was a pretty shy kid, and he was just greeted with such warmth by you, and he had a couple rough experiences with childcare before he was in school where you were. And when he was there, you would be like, G-Man, what's up? And the way that you greeted him made him look forward to school. And so, first of all, I just want to say thank you for being a teacher, or, you know, you used to be a teacher, and the way that you got my kids to enjoy school.
Well, I thank you. And really, and I talk about this in my own podcast too, but we're all teachers no matter what we do, whether we're called as a profession to do it or just in our lives. And it was one of the most biggest joys of my life to be able to be with kids. That was the part that I loved about my teaching career the most. And being with Griffin, being with Cora briefly, and then knowing Blair literally her entire life, before she was even in your stomach. It's been kind of a cool full 360 to kind of see everything come around and them still remember me, which is even nicer. So yeah.
And it's biggest thing is like your energy. Like your energy is just contagious, and you can tell. I could tell when you were at work that the faculty, they were drawn to you. Parents were drawn to you. Kids are drawn to you, and that's what Brooke and I try and find in the world. We're like, we just want good energy. I mean, that's everything. It's your life, and why be around sucky people? Yep. And then if you can have them around your kids, it's an extra bonus. So we want you here today because we have a lot of things to talk about.
Sure.
We want to talk about your life. We want to talk about your professional life, your family life, and first of all, we want to talk about your podcast. You launched a podcast. Let's talk about it.
Sure. So I launched a podcast. It's called Nerdinary. And the whole concept behind Nerdinary is realizing that we are all just dumb-ass nerds in everything that we do. Like, and for so long, especially like any of us our age in the mid-30s, early 30s, late 20s, up to 40s and older, when we were growing up, we heard that word nerd and we're like, oh shit, we're nerds, and we had to put the tape in the middle of our glasses and, talk with a nasal voice and everything. And it was all stupid and negative. But really, when you break it down, being a nerd is being passionate about something and just loving the hell out of whatever it is that you are nerdy about. And the thing with it is, I was sick and tired of hearing that negative connotation with nerd. And because I'm a nerd about a bunch of shit. And I wanted to continue to embrace that. And part of my whole goal was to also bring that to everybody else and let everybody else, whoever everybody else is, realize that it's totally okay to be a nerd, whatever the hell it is that drives your boat, fuels your fire, whatever the hell type of euphemism you want to use right there. It's okay to be a nerd, and it's okay to embrace it and find out whatever the hell it is that you have passionate about. And that's the whole goal behind Nerdinary. And as of this point, we've had a couple episodes already dropped. Things are going really well. And it's fun as hell because in a sense right now I'm just kind of sharing my own nerd and everything that I'm nerdy about. But at the same time, I'm inviting everybody. And I've gotten really sweet feedback from people that I know, people that I don't know, that it's just letting them embrace who the hell it is that they are. Because that's the basis of all of it, is we're all nerds about shit, and it's okay to be nerd about whatever it is. You don't have to be the same thing as me. I don't have to be the same thing as you or whomever it is. And that's like the biggest takeaway that I want everybody to take away from popping over and listening to Nerdinary. And, hopefully along the way, have a couple of laughs, maybe some tears and kind of everything in between.
Yeah. It's about geeking out about being who you are.
Yeah.
Right? And like fully owning what sets you on fire. And I think that's where energy comes, is when you're doing what you want to be doing, what lights you up. And as you're talking about your podcast right now, I can see you light up. And so it's super exciting to see someone else do what they want, what sets them on fire, and to not say there's a million podcasts out there. Why would someone else listen to my podcast? Like, no, there's room for all of us. Mm-hmm. So first of all, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. I want to know, what you nerd out about.
Oh, there's so much shit. Some of the biggest things that I nerd out about, I'm huge into music. I'm huge into theater. I'm huge into running. Before I was an adult, and really before my mid-20s, as I'm very fastly approaching 40, before my mid-20s, I was even much larger than I even am close to now. I was sniffing at 400 pounds. Walking, let alone running, was a pain in the ass. And I started just learning how to eat better, learning how to treat my body better, treating this body as a temple as opposed to just a piece of garbage, and allowing, some of that weight to just actually come off because I was putting better fuel in. And then all of a sudden, by God, it started to be easier to move. And I went from being easier to move to running a 5K, from running a 5K to running a 10K, running a 10K to a half marathon, and then being a one-time marathon finisher. We'll see about another one. Mm-hmm. The half marathon's my favorite distance. But like those are then I nerd about, I love my kids. I nerd out about being a dad, about being a husband, about how many times I get asked if I'm actually from Canada where I'm not.
You do sound like a Canadian.
Jesus, I would love to be completely honest, but that's
we can pretend.
Let's go.
You can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Which is exactly why I'm so nerdy about theater, because I get to play pretend. And for 15 years I was in the education industry, and for 15 years I got to play pretend. Anytime, especially in the early education, that's all I was doing was playing pretend. I use my different voices. I go up and down, do whatever with the same amount of energy that I would provide when I'm going on stage. And I've been in theater for almost 35 years. And it's everything that I nerd out about is something that makes me who I am. I think about the biggest things that I nerd out about are the things that I introduced my then girlfriend as myself. Like when we went on our first date, I laid it out on the table on the shit that who I am. I was like, at that time, of course, I was divorced. I had kids. I was a big ass mama's boy. And I hold on to the fact, and I nerd out, even though my mom has since passed away, I'm still the biggest mama's boy in the whole world. And I nerd out about that stuff all the time. And even now, and like, my mom's birthday is next week. I'm still going to go and celebrate her birthday, even though she's hanging out in heaven, right? Mm-hmm. And so like I nerd out about all of that, and there's so much more. I nerd out about socks. Life is too damn short to have boring socks. Like, and as I'm sitting wearing pink socks.
Yeah, what do yours say right now?
I got pink socks with sloths on them. So I do legitimately buy socks in the women's area because women have so much cooler socks. And like all of my running socks, almost all of my socks, unless they come from my mother-in-law, are bought in the women's area because they're so much cooler. And I nerd out about fun ties, and I nerd out about like finding stupid harmonies in the middle of a song on the radio. Like, and I nerd out about my faith. I nerd out about being a husband. I nerd out about being a friend. Like, I nerd out about being me, because I'm the only person who can be me. Dr. Seuss said it best. You are than you. No one's newer than you, right? So like I could talk millions of years about the things that I nerd out about because it's constant. Like I nerd out about basketball. I nerd out about baseball. When I was starting to date again after I got a divorce, the person that I was going to be with needed to at least like baseball. I didn't give a shit if they liked football, which I like more. I didn't care if they liked basketball. They had to at least enjoy baseball.
Why?
Because it was so damn pure. Like you go outside, you go have a beer. It doesn't care if you're $12, $14, $15, $20 for your beer, whatever it is, but like there's something that's so true and pure about sitting even for 4.5 hours in an outdoor setting and just taking in God's glory, taking in a beautiful baseball game, even if it sucks because your baseball team is terrible, which we are.
This is why we're not married, because I cannot stand.
Plus, you're like 12 feet tall. I am down.
I just like baseball is so boring. I don't know what it is. I do enjoy the brat and the beer and being outside and being with friends. So I still go to them because I like the environment, but it's so slow.
I get you. And that's the whole point about being nerdy, right? I can be nerdy about baseball. You can give two shits less about baseball, and that's perfectly fine. That's what makes a friendship work. That's what makes people working together work, because you can embrace who you are and you can embrace who they are, and it doesn't mean you have to be who they are.
I don't know from you listening to Ivy Unleashed if you know how morbid of a person I am, but I'm pretty morbid. I like these dark thoughts, and I'm having one right now where I'm thinking about like in your life when you are gone. Yeah. Everybody is going to say like you squeezed every ounce of life out of like, I feel like, you want to be around people that are alive, that they're aware of how cool life is and that life's a gift. And I feel like you are very aware. You are very aware that's a gift, that there's a kid walking into a room, or that it's super cool that you can be with someone. I know that you date your spouse and you guys have a really cool relationship. And so just to have the listeners get to know you a bit more, can you tell us about your family?
Yeah.
You mentioned it's a blended family earlier, that you've been divorced. So kind of just a little background on your history there.
Sure. So, I mean, so currently I've been married. I joke because this is my second marriage, right? And second marriages are supposed to be like weird or reboundy or like shitty or something. And I don't know what I did at all to deserve a second marriage and my final marriage to someone who just gets it. And my wife, Christy, and we met as teachers, and we are not the same, which is exactly why we work, right? And she's introverted. I am certainly not. I will thrive in a crowd. She could sit in a library with a book with nobody around, and she would be happier than ever, right? As long as I'm there. But then as far as we have 4 kids. I talked about being nerdy about being a dad, and I am the biggest nerd about being a dad. And I have a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And the amount of sweat and hormones and smells and shit that goes along with coming with those different types of ages is it's impressive. And if you weren't nerdy about being a parent, then it would drive you up a wall and probably into a drinking problem or something else, right? And I love being a dad, and I've been a dad since I was 23 years old. And my first marriage, we got married right after I graduated from St. John's, and we had our now 16-year-old 2.5 months after we got married, right? He came 13 weeks early. And he was the length of my forearm, which is not very long. And he was 2 pounds. And he stayed in the NICU for 7 weeks. And if you talk about life being a blessing, you talk about life being a gift. And every day that I drove from St. Joe, Minnesota, down the crappy windy roads into St. Cloud to the St. Cloud Hospital, because that's where we were living, to go visit my son, who I couldn't take home with me, right? It brings a whole different level to life being a gift, life being a whole blessing, right? Because you have all these other people to make sure that life is actually still happening. And it became just really real, really fast. And my ex-wife and I were married for about 3.5 years. My now 13-year-old, he was born. And then shortly after that, we started to separate. And it was relatively amicable as far as how things go. We were renting an apartment. We didn't have shit, right? We had 2 cars. Perfect. I took one, she took the other, right? And as far as anything else, I mean, of course, the kids were involved, so it wasn't like super clean and super awesome, and still can sometimes suck, because co-parenting is fine because we do it for the kids, and we do celebrate things for the kids, and she has a person, and I have my wife, and all of those things are great. We all kind of realize that we're all adults going for the kids, and we don't have to be best friends. Hell, we don't even have to be friends, as long as we're respectful. And that's what we drive for. And as far as going farther back, I grew up in a small town. I'm the youngest of basically 6 kids. All of my other brothers and my sister are, I'm sniffing at 40. All of them are over 50. So both of my parents were married before. I was the one that came from both of them. And so, in fact, a lot of my friends from high school, though they knew I had siblings, all of my siblings had already grown up, right? They were already, in fact, one of them already had 2 kids by the time I was 13. So and all of them by the time I was 15 had already gotten married or engaged or something else. So I grew up in a small town. I have small town values, and that's part of why I take so much joy in life too, because all you had was life, because there was nothing else in a small town to do. I grew up 15 minutes away from the closest Walmart, at least 45 minutes away from the closest Target. At least at that point, it's now only like 10 minutes away. But, after I went to high school, I graduated and I went to St. John's, and that's where I really completely, and it's stupid and cliched, but it's where I kind of found out who the hell I was. It's where I met my ex-wife as well. And I was in choir, I was in theater. I tried college football for about a second or two, and then I went into college rugby because I knew I was never going to play football at St. John's. I enjoyed it, but we had 200 people on our roster. There was no way in hell I was going to crack any type of playing time, so I went and played rugby instead. And all of those things kind of make me who I am. So the most cliched Minnesota thing that I could do at this very second is say long story short and just keep going longer. But long story short, I'm a small town kid that grew up loving life. And then, and I wanted to be a dad since I was like in 2nd grade. I had the name Jeremiah picked out by the time I was 10. And, it's strong, it's biblical, it's a prophet, and plus it fits pretty well with Ford as the last name. So like it's a little bit longer at the front so you can have shorter at the back. The dumb
You really
things,
thought that one through.
Holy hell, I did. And so, I had that name picked out. I wanted to be a dad because I've always wanted to continue to care for people, no matter what I was doing, whether it was in my job, in my life, in my daily day, just whatever it was. I always wanted to be caring for people or helping bring people through whatever the hell it was that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we love you and why you're here, right? Because we talk about mental health.
Yeah.
That's basically what this show is about.
Yep, sure is.
And you talk a lot about men's mental health. And so I'm curious how you are showing your kids the importance of coping with emotions and, from a young age, or maybe how it's evolved, placing the importance on that.
Well, it starts with transparency. I don't not share. And sometimes probably in a sense, I overshare with my kids, whether it's I'm pissed off or I'm happy or I'm somewhere in between. And I do that with my older boys who are, with whom I'm co-parenting. And sometimes I say, you know what, dude, I don't get along with your mom. There's plenty of reasons why we're not married. And I'm not going to go into like the down and dirty of the shit, but we're not friends. We respect each other and we love you and we will always be around each other because of you. And that's where it lies. It all goes back to transparency. I have told my I've told my kids, I've told my family, I've told people that love me, that like I've struggled with mental health. I almost lost that battle to mental health at one point in my life. And I'm open with it, and I'm open with my emotions. Like one of the biggest things, and I actually just talked about this on one of my more recent podcasts about being nerdy about running, where I am open with my emotions. When that shit overcomes me, I don't stop it. And that's the thing that like a lot of times men, all of us are told, no, man, you got to be a man up, sack up, do whatever, right? And, don't show those emotions, don't cry, bullshit. Like my mental health hasn't been better because I share my freaking emotions. And one of the biggest and most prime examples of that in the transparency with which, especially with my kids, with my older boys who are now young men, both have gross, disgusting facial hair. And I've told them both that because they wanted to grow in, but they haven't shaved once at all, ever. And I was like, dude, guys, if you shave, I promise it will come back and it will come back better. But they don't like hear me. They just, they're teenagers. So, but when I finished my first marathon, I was hobbling ass through downtown Duluth. I had blown my calf out on mile 18, but I refused because I had already DNF'd one other full marathon because I rolled my ankle coming out of a damn porta potty. That's a whole different story, right? But I went 13 miles without peeing. I had to pee, and I went into one of the damn portas in Duluth, and it was lofted, so I rolled my ankle coming out of the damn thing. But regardless, I was coming through. I had texted my wife saying, I'm gonna finish. It's gonna be a while, but I'm gonna finish. And I got to that finish line, and besides the fact that my legs were just dead as hell, my heart was just exploding in all perfectly well, healthy reasons, right? I did it. At that point, I crossed the finish line and I became a marathon finisher. Shit that you can't take away from me. Mm-hmm. Like that will be something, you talk about when I leave. I will leave having been on this earth as a marathon finisher. And I'm in that 2%. I'm part of that group. And I lost it. Like I crossed the finish line. They said, congratulations. They handed me that medal. And I did exactly what I do with every single medal that I've ever earned in racing is I bite that son of a bitch because it's victory. I taste the success. I taste the victory. Right. Mm-hmm. And of course it's an actual medal, and I'm not going to do that when I'm doing a race in the middle of December because that sucker's going to stick to my tongue, but I still bite it because it goes back to that taste. And then once I got done biting that, it just all hit me. And this was in 2019. So my 16-year-old's now 13 years old. And I just went right to him. And we stayed at that finish line for like a good solid full Minnesota goodbyes worth of a good 2.5, 3 minutes and I was bawling. And I knew too, I was inside myself enough that I knew that I needed to share with him going, dude, see this? This is okay. And anytime you feel it, whatever it is, feel it and feel it wholly. And that's one of the biggest ways that I've tried to share with my kids, to share with anybody that I say those 3 powerful words to, that I say I love you to, Like I share that freely, openly with my emotions, and I don't ever let that go away. And I've embraced that so much more, even in the last couple of years, that it's okay. And every day that I continue to embrace that, my mental health continues to get a little better and a little bit more powerful. And because I go another day being able to have shown emotion. And so that's how I share it. And that's how I encourage other people to share it. I can't tell you to share it like me because you're not me and I'm not you. But like, however it is that your emotions come out, don't fucking quelch it, because that's going to do terrible, terrible things for you. And it, man, woman, boy, child, transgender, whoever you are, just show your shit the way that you're meant to show it, because then it's going to come out so much better. And you are going to come out so much better.
Would you say it's always been that way? Because I know you said you struggled with your mental health. So what shifted?
Well, I struggled with my mental health, but I was always transparent with my emotions. But it's one of those when I struggled big time, and people are surprised to hear that I have been diagnosed with clinical depression, and I've been on antidepressants before. And it had much more to do with just, there was some shit going on. Frankly, I was going through a divorce, and there were some things that were happening, and it was all, at that point, it all kind of just came crashing. And I went away from those moments, those times that I shared my emotions more transparently. I became more inward, and the more inward I became, the more everything kept shutting out. And as it kept shutting out, I kept shutting more in, because I was like, well, and then I kind of went into those typical depression type of feelings where, why the hell would someone want to hear me? Why would someone else want to take my emotions? Why would someone want to see that I'm going through this? They know that I'm happy, so I should still be happy. How come I'm not happy? So it was those thought distortions that continued to happen. And, going through some therapy, going through, some faith-based therapy as well, to kind of figure out, I was dealing with, my dad passed away when I was 19, and I was still pissed off at God about that, because, everyone says when your parents die or whomever dies, they're like, oh, well, God needed them in heaven. Well, to hell with that. That sucks. I need them here. Right. And I've been dealing with that since my mom died in 2018. We're like, piss off, God. I want my mom here. Right. So like, but I continue to be transparent with those now. And the shift was just someone calling me out on it, going, well, dude, you talk to people all the time about, like, just share your shit and do what's and whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, instead of sitting in it by yourself, it's so much easier to at least release it, so it's not sitting inside of you. And that's been so much bigger and broader and everything to be impacting. And I've noticed too, there's been those times where, it ebbs and flows with your mental health, and on the dips, it's I'm already noticing. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a little bit more internal right now. I'm not talking to somebody. I'm not taking this out. I'm just kind of dealing with my shit by myself. And, and find you your people, right? Find you your freaking tribe that, like, you can say, yo, I feel like shit right now. Can you just tell me a stupid joke, or show me a meme of a dumbass cat jumping into something, or, whatever it is, break me from this, buy me some freaking pistachios, whatever it might be. And, like, I have this whole list of things that, like, hey, if shit's going and hitting the fan, this is going to be your umbrella, so it stops, and becoming just more and more self-aware, and that can only come with time. It can only come with age. It can only come with experience. It can only come with facing shit and realizing that you can get through it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of people that are younger take their own life, right?
Yep.
They don't win that battle. They don't have enough life experience to see that it will get better, And unfortunately, I feel like it's that age where you're like, late teens, early 20s, where it just feels, there's just like this pressure, I feel like, and it just, I don't know. Suicide scares me so much. And so I'm so glad that you're talking about, though, like, that you, this happy person, this light, this, like, person that brings so much great energy to people, has these moments, and you still do, right? That's not this picture perfect thing, and that it is important that we talk about it, especially as males. So I'd love that you have 3 boys too, and that you're a model for your daughter too, to see that, like, men can talk about their feelings, and it's okay to be transparent with, when you are struggling, and to kind of keep that rolling. So, and that's cool that you have that list too.
Well, I have to, because if I don't, I got caught without it, and I got caught without it, and I had a bottle of fucking Vicodin, and I tried to find my problems at the bottom. I tried to find the solutions of that at the bottom of that bottle. And that was the time that I almost lost my battle. And, thank God for the people that came into my apartment at the right time and, cleared those things. And that was December of 2010. So it's been 12, 13 years. And that, from that point, when I woke up, I realized that I woke up and I had a shitload of purpose. And whether you have actually gone to that very possible end of the rope and realized that you're still there, or you're just going through something, like the biggest thing I talk to the people that I try to help out with their mental health, or the people that just come to me and say, dude, how the hell are you so fucking bubbly? Why are you so positive? Why does this happen? And like, because every single day, like, and I've posted this on my socials, I've talked to this about people, like, you have gone through every single bad thing in your life and you are batting 1,000. Everything that you've gone through. You've kicked its ass, or even if you've kind of gotten your ass kicked, you're still coming out on the other end. And it just, it can't be anything but lending towards being that gift. And I can't not share it with my kids. I can't not encourage other people to continue to do that. So
I think purpose is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
And those who don't know what their purpose is struggle mentally, struggle with, why am I here? It's that searching, that finding. You mentioned at the end of that bottle is where you found your purpose when you woke up. And so how did that work for you?
Well, it was crazy, right? Because at that point I kind of thought that I was done. I thought that the best thing that could have happened for me was to be done and not be here, not see anything else. And then I woke up and I saw, and the people that that I will tell anybody is, you don't have to wake up with this grandiose purpose. You don't need to go and change the whole fucking world, right? You just need to change yours. To hell with everybody else's world. Everybody else's world's going to continue to rotate whether you're here or not. You have to figure out your own shit and find something that you love. It kind of comes right back. We're going full circle into, being nerdy about your shit. Find something that you love and aspire to that. To hell with everything else, because everything else will end up falling in place. You get through your stuff and then you realize, maybe you're a parent, maybe you're aspiring to be a fill in the blank, whatever your possible profession is. Again, you don't need to go and be the freaking Dalai Lama. You need to go be the best you, the only person you can be. And the thing about getting to that point where I didn't have any other options, or at least didn't feel like I had any other options. And only a year prior, I had ankle surgery, and of course, they prescribed me Vicodin, which was fabulous, by the way, for as far as the pain-killing part. But I came to the end of a bottle, and they refilled it. But then at that point, I'd already kind of started to, heal, and the pain was gone. But so I just kept the bottle. That's where I found my solution, or at least that's where I thought my solution was. And thankfully, it wasn't the solution. And from that point, December of 2010, or December of 2009, my bad. From that point, I realized that no matter how much longer I have on this earth, I may as well do something that makes my heart happy, do things that make those that are around me happy, and never, ever, ever stop sharing those 3 words that are so powerful that people put so much shit into, which is, I love you. And not just, hey, love you, babe, but I love you. And not just I'm going to go and marry you and we're going to go make babies type of love, but like all of the possible love, like the people that you share, the people that you're sitting at a table with and you say, hey, I love you. And the shit that means, the people that you get to share that with. And when that turn, when I woke up and I was in the hospital and I knew exactly what had happened, I knew exactly why I was there, and my eyes opened and I saw light. I didn't see heaven. I didn't see hell. I didn't see anything else. I saw some weird ass doctor, and I saw even back then, I still saw an episode of Law and Order up on the damn TV, and I realized again at that point, I knew that at that point my marriage was basically over. I knew that at that point I was at beyond square one, whatever is just under square one. That's from where I was starting. And no matter where the hell it was from where I was starting, I knew that I got a second chance that so many don't. And with that second chance, I'm going to try to show other people that they don't need a second chance. They can have their first chance and just keep going with whatever that chance does for them.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like neither of us knew that about you coming into today. And I think it just hits home even more that this happens. People have these thoughts. People, hit this rock bottom. And I love that you decided to go up from there, right? So what does that look like, kind of building your life after that, as far as professionally, personally, Do you tell your people about it? How does that kind of...
Sure. Well, I mean, some of the people obviously had to know because someone had to pick my ass up from the hospital. So my mom knew, a couple of my best friends at the time knew, but it's not something I openly broadcast. Hey, by the way, I attempted suicide, right? Like, it's not something that like I'm going to, put on my social media or I'm not going to, put on my business cards or some shit. But what it did is I literally basically went back to, at that point, I was just a couple of months away from moving out of my apartment because that was where my ex-wife and I were staying. So I moved back to my mom's house for a year and kind of figured out everything, went back to learning how to walk in a sense, right? I got the same shitty high school job that I had. It was a fabulous high school job. It was a radio job. I worked in a small market radio station and I did everything there. I was sales. I worked the night shift. Then I moved into the morning shift. Then I worked into broadcasting sports games and everything else. And it was literally kind of going back to the beginning and just clomping, chomping, and moving. I had just gotten my teaching license by that point. So I was subbing here and there when I wasn't picking up radio shifts as much as I could. And then it was, okay, I've been at mom's for a year. Now I got to move back out on my own. Now I got to have real actual insurance on my car. I got to actually do real actual things because I am a big boy and I have kids and I have things to which I need to do, So like I had the chance because I moved home. I moved back to I stayed in my high school bedroom, in my high school bed, which by the way, when you are rebounding after you go through a divorce and you bring a gal back to your mom's house in your 20s, it just kind of doesn't hit the same. So, it was it was all of it, right? And then I refound like my love of theater, I refound my love of singing, and I realized that all of those things were gone when things were shitty. And then I realized that those things can never be gone from my life again. And I started acting again. I started singing. I started going to karaoke all the time. And that was kind of part of my like, okay, well, this is my post-divorce time. I'm going to go and live it up as much as I can when my kids are with their mom and blah, blah, blah. But it was all square one. It was all back to the beginnings. It was all back to like, I'm going to go and do these things. I'm going to go on dorky, crappy dates and they are going to suck. And I'm going to, fail hard at different things. I'm going to have fun at different things. And it was all just continuing to kind of rebuild what definitely was lost or what was definitely gone. And then it just made more and more sense. And it brought me to, full-time teaching again. It brought me to meeting my wife. It brought me to having the balls enough to go and ask her out, even though it took someone else telling me that she was single to, actually go ask her out. But like, it was all a wash. And I just basically I got factory reset. I Control-Alt-deleted the shit out of everything. And I went back to the beginning and just kept building. But I had an advantage because I already knew some of the blocks that I could put in, so I got to go sing. I got to go theater. I got to go do those things. So
I'm curious about your health because you talked about being close to 400 pounds and then now you're clearly not. You're in the gym all the time. Yep. I love it. And I know from listening to Nerdinary that you were saying you were bullied as a kid. So I'm curious about weight in your life and kind of how you've become so healthy, how that kind of transpired over the years.
Sure. Well, I did. I started, my dad was amazing and my mom was phenomenal, but they were great parents. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am. But they also really didn't like using the word no. So like when I wanted to eat an entire box of Gushers, not a package, a box of Gushers growing up, they said, sure, go ahead, or they, oh, you want this whole box of Twinkie Ho Ho Ding Dongs or whatever the hell. I was like, yeah, and of course they said, sure, but then, and I said this before, my dad died at 19. And at that point, that was when I ate my feelings because I didn't know anything else. And that was when I started to go from 260, 270, 280 real fast to over 300, real fast to almost 400. And it was never a thing that like really impacted my confidence. Like I was always a pretty confident person because of my parents. They always lifted me up. They always valued me. They always told me who I was and not what I looked like. Like I knew that I was in a 2X by the time I was 12. I knew that I was 250 pounds by the time I was 13.
So interesting though, that didn't affect you as a kid because you talked in your podcast about like, you hated running because you were slow and heavy.
Yeah.
And they would like call you names and it did not affect your self-esteem, which is Wild.
Now it didn't affect my self-esteem. It pissed me off because I was like, dude, like stop being a dick. Like that was the biggest thing. Like
just like shows your parents. I don't know if it's like, do you think you're born that way? Do you think it's your parents? Do you think it's a combo?
It's that whole nature nurture thing, right? And it's a little bit of both. I hope to think and pray to think that I was born at least a little bit with this disposition, but I can't say it's not part of how I was raised because my parents, my siblings, they all loved me and they all did it openly, right? And we were like the Tanners, right? We all hugged. We all, the Tanners, of course, from Full House.
Mm-hmm. Do you know who they are, Brooke?
The Tanners.
Yes, I know.
Gotta check.
That was my childhood, believe it or not.
Really?
I did raise.
Try that again.
You were raised on the Tanners?
I did grow up with Full House.
Okay.
Michelle Tanner, Stephanie, DJ, Must I Go On, Uncle Danny.
Okay, she's got it.
Okay. Well, she just said Uncle Danny, so you just dropped down a notch. Uncle Danny. Danny was the dad, honey.
Uncle Jesse.
Shit,
Uncle Joey.
Jesse.
Uncle Jesse and Uncle Joey. Yeah, wearing the Detroit Red Wings shirts. But no, so like they loved the shit out of me, regardless of what I looked like. And my siblings knew that I did get occasional shit. And I did talk about this in my podcast where like there were kids that would say stuff about my speed, my weight, whatever it might be, whether it be my excess weight or my excessively slow speed. And it did piss me off. And after a while I had enough of it. And I chucked I chucked a kid right into a locker and it made me feel better. And then I realized that I went too far and I could stick up to myself with words. I could talk about how I'm valued. I could talk about who I am. And then I started to realize too, especially after Dad passed away and after I got done in the whole eating my feelings phase, so 3 or 4 years later, I realized that Dad died partly because, when he died, he looked like he was about 5-6 months along. He was a large fella. He was 5'8" and about 300 pounds. Like it only went out. And I knew that I was on a track that was going faster than that. Like I went to the doctor and they're like, whoa, so you're large. And I went, yes.
And was this before or after the divorce?
This was actually as we started dating.
Okay.
So, and I went, yeah, and like, I'm good. And they're like, but you're really not. Maybe you should think about not being so large. Can we help you with that? And I was like, I don't know. I'll talk to you when I feel bad about it. So it took about another year. And then I started to realize again that like my health will be impacted. At that point, I knew at some point I was going to have kids. And I knew that I didn't want to put my kids what I was going through. Like I was 19 when my dad passed away. I was 35 or so when my mom passed away. And that sucks. And I should be 60. I should be 55, 60 and have lived a full damn life when my parents pass away. I should be dealing with that then, not when I'm figuring out how to write a freaking history paper. Right. So I knew that I wanted to be longer. I wanted to be here longer. I wanted to outlive my parents. I wanted to outlive a lot because you only get one. And I want to have a whole lot of it. So I started to, I make this joke. I started to do the good old push away. I didn't do push-ups yet. I was doing push-aways. I got my ass away from the table when I was full. Instead of going, wow, this is delicious, I'm going to keep eating it because it tastes great, and by God, I started to drink water instead of soda all the time. Now, don't get me wrong, I still drink diet soda, but like I barely drink alcohol. I certainly don't smoke, so that's my vice. I'll take my vice as diet soda. Okay, great. And yes, I know it's loaded with shit, but here we are. But like I started drinking water. I started eating a vegetable, and instead of, banana chips, I had bananas, or apple chips, I had apples, like actual real food, real fuel. And I started to realize the value of that. And then, and once I started to actually lose weight, by God, moving was a lot easier. And it became much more natural. Like I was never stagnant. I was never sedentary. I was just really slow and I didn't want to keep doing it because it kind of sucked. All the pressure that was in my legs, all the pressure that was in my hips, all the pressure that was in my ankles because I was lugging a whole lot of weight around and I wanted to do it, but I just couldn't. So I started to, slowly lose. And of course, when you're large and you take care of yourself right away, you get a gigantic drop and you're like, oh, cool. And then, of course, then you bounce back up because nothing goes as fast anymore. So, it's a continuous journey on this whole health journey. There's never a destination. Every day is a new before picture and every day is a new after picture. And I take that attitude every day I go to the gym, because I want to track something that I'm doing, or I want to see, how this pair of leggings looks on me. And yes, I'm a dude and I wear leggings all of the time because you can do random shit so much better when you're wearing leggings instead of freaking jeans. And God bless jeans, but I'm so glad that I work from home where I can wear leggings literally every day.
I love it.
It's so fantastic, but like that's kind of where that journey has gone and where I'm at right now. Like the heaviest I was 397.8. And I was like, whoa, it's almost 400 pounds. And I am not what anybody would ever describe as tall. Like I'm taller than my wife and my 2 younger kids. And that's it. So like, I knew that like I was going to become just more Jabba the Hutt type as opposed to less. And so I needed to fix that. And it was active choices. There was never any like, oh my God, I'm so fat, this is ridiculous. It was just like, whoa, slow the train down that's going on the diabetes bus, pal. Like, slow the train down on the die at 40 bus. Like, I wanted to live and I want to live. And that was what drove it. And that was what continues to drive it. Like, that's what gets my ass out of bed at 3:30 in the morning when my alarm goes off to go run or go hit weights or go run and hit weights or go hit weights and run, or go do yoga on Sundays, which blows, but it's great.
3:30 a.m.
Yeah, dude.
Let's talk about that.
Yep. I mean, I'm a family guy and I am the morning guy. I love mornings and I do work out at night occasionally just because of, if a kid's sick, I'm going to go snuggle the kid before I go to the gym. And if I snuggle the kid before I go to the gym, then I can't go to the gym. So it's not ideal as far as going at night for me. It's ideal for going in the morning. It's when for me at least, it's when I'm at my most optimal. And at the same time too, I also need to get my kids up out of bed and I need to get my wife out of bed. God bless her, but she is not a morning person. I come home from the gym. I get back in the house by between 5:30, 5:40, and I'm chipper, more than chipper than a son of a bitch, right? And I'm like, hey, good morning, everybody, hello. And they're like, shut up, Dad, shut up, husband. And I'm like, well, get up.
Were you always a morning person?
Yes, always.
Okay.
And the unfortunate thing is I'm also a night person. Like, I love doing things at night. Like, I love going to sports events, or I love doing this or doing that. That ends up, occasionally bringing me out till 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and then of course there's that's the one night where I'm like, okay, well, looks like I'm going on about Buddy the Elf amount of sleep, 45 minutes, maybe. Not actually, it's just a euphemism, but still. But I've always been a morning person. That's the part of it is from my faith, I get to wake up. That's that mindset. Like, I get to wake up, I get to see this day, and why not see this day before the damn sun wakes up? Because then I get to watch the sun wake up, whether it's waking up at 5 or waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning, like it is still in the wintertime, right? So I have to go to the gym. If I'm going to get in a decent workout, I have to get up between 3:30 and 3:45 so I can actually get a good sweat, a good pump, get in at least a couple of miles, if not 3, 4, 5, or like this morning I got 8. Like, I need to get those things in so that I can go back and be my best self and be the person that gets everybody up out of bed.
Yeah.
So like our daughter needs to be on the bus at 6:45 and my wife and 3-year-old need to be out the door by about 6:45 and they need some playtime to get moving. So like I need to get them moving by about 5:45. So I take my me time, I get up, I go either do some lifting, go do some running or do a little bit of both, come back. In the process on my drive back from the gym, I'm listening either to a podcast or a bunch of fantastic music while I'm kind of taking this 7-minute drive back home, even though it's not much, but it's still enough. And then take on the damn day. Mm-hmm. So that's, I gotta.
That's amazing to me that you went from almost 400 pounds to waking up at 3:30 a.m. To work out. So in this, how long would you say it took you from realizing, okay, you look at the scale, you're almost 400 pounds to, all right, I need to use my mornings to work out? Because that's, I feel like for most people, a big mindset shift.
It's a big mindset shift, and it all just, the shift from like being very large and occasionally going to the gym or occasionally doing this or occasionally doing that to realizing that I've got these mornings and why not use them? It took probably a good solid 2-3 years before I really started to work out in the morning. And then of course that took a little bit of a hit once my teenagers were born because kids don't sleep. And when they do, you've gotta.
I love when people are like, oh, I slept like a baby. I'm like, so you were up a lot?
Yeah, right?
So
Yeah.
you didn't sleep at all? Oh.
So you needed 7 gallons of water and you needed all the answers to the questions of the world and you had to go to the bathroom? Yeah, you slept like a baby. Great. Yeah, you didn't sleep like a baby. You slept like someone who wasn't interrupted by a baby. Great job. So no, it took a good couple, 3-4 years before I really continued to embrace it. And then it got even better after I was a morning show guy because I had to be awake and I had to be on, even if I had gone to the bar the night before and I was probably still mildly buzzed going and being on the air. Like
Good morning.
Yeah, hello.
It's Webster.
Do you drink caffeine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, and like I drink soda, but then
you said that.
before I work out, I do a natural pre-workout. And that's basically
Oh
it.
God,
But
I bet your energy is
fire.
just.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, and I sip that son of a gun while I'm working out, so then I can actually like have it go for a little bit longer. And it's dumb and cliched, but like I love being awake and I love being alive. So like, yes, I have caffeine and sometimes I need it because there are those nights where I'm up from basketball practice or from whatever, and then I still got to get up in the morning. But a lot of my energy is just natural. Like I take the endorphins that I get from working out. I take the endorphins from watching my daughter come through the door off of the bus. Like, so help me God. That's not like, I miss teaching because I miss being with kids and working with parents. Like I am here because I was a teacher. Like I have this relationship with Andrea because I was a teacher to her kids. I have this relationship with so many of these adults because I was a teacher to their kids or I knew their kids in the school, right? But I was missing my own kids. So I'm working from home. Like that's a whole big ass endorphin rush where like my daughter gets off the bus and walks in the house and I'm home and I get to hug my daughter when she comes in. Like that's a feeling I have never had because my older boys went to school most of the time where their mom is. And then I was working in schools. So I would see my kids at school, but we never had the bus experience. We never had that like I had growing up. My mom worked from home every day. So like I got off the bus and she was there. I was like, hey mom, she was out trimming the hedges the first time I got a speeding ticket. So like, I do drink caffeine, but a lot of it's not. I mean, I like to try to trick myself into thinking that it's not because I need the caffeine, but because I like the flavor and I like the bubbles. As far as the soda goes,
I feel like people are going to tune into Nerdinary when they're like, I need some energy.
Yes.
They're going to be like, I feel like it's going to be a good morning show or like when people are in their like 2:00 slump.
hell yeah.
But I'm wondering for people listening that are like, you are almost 400 pounds. Like, how do you have this energy?
Sure.
Did you notice that you got energy as you were losing weight, as you were taking care of yourself and fueling yourself differently?
Absolutely. I got so much more. I wasn't low on energy when I was sniffing at 400 pounds either. It just moved a hell of a lot slower. But like there is that whole difference in not moving, basically a middle schooler. Because in a sense, at this point in my life, I've lost over your average sized middle schooler off of me. Like I'm down 170 pounds from... I'm down more than 170 pounds from my heaviest, right? So like I'm down your basic average male adult, right? There is no doubt in energy that can come from that. And it does. And there's also that energy that I get from fuel, from the food that I enjoy, that is not shitty. And then I'm energized too from like the fact that I can. Like I wasn't able to do shit that I can now. Like I can, do weird ass back bends and other various yoga poses that I would have never dreamed of. And it like feels good, kind of. Sometimes it feels really bad, but just the energy that I have has so much more too because I can. And it goes into that where like, and this is the moment where I just want to be like, okay, so this is where like you can have the energy. Like this is the teacher in me where like I want to take what I'm going through and spend it to you, to not just you, but the royal you, as it were. And like, because you can have energy without coffee. You can have energy without pre-workout. Like you can, because you can. Like it sounds, rosy glasses and hunky-dory and all things are great, but things aren't always great. But the fact is you fucking can.
Like, if you choose to.
Yes.
That's what I'm
and
say, yeah.
and if you choose to, you can. And it doesn't mean you can go run a marathon. You can go do whatever. Maybe it is you can tie your shoelaces. You can open your freaking eyes. You can pay this bill. Whatever it might be. Just those two powerful words. You can because you choose. That's where a lot of my energy comes from. And yeah, it definitely did help to lose an adult male off of my body. Right. So yeah.
I love it. I love too, just how it's transpired over your life and where you're at now of thinking you can, like you and I were talking about you becoming a podcaster. You were on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And I basically felt like saying that to you. Yeah. I wrote it in the comments in some form of that, of like, I've already thought that this is something that you could do. I've already thought, like, of course you can, right? So what was that shift for deciding you can with this next venture with Nerdinary?
And you and so many other people have had those types of moments with me or around me. I worked in radio for 10 years. I know that I can do sound type of things, that the technical aspect of it has no real bearing on any type of feeling that I can or can't do it. And it was, and there was some of those thought distortions of like, well, I mean, I'm just me, right? Like, what the hell? Why would people want to hear about this dorky ass, 200-pound guy that, has turned into somewhat of a fitness freak and is a dorky dad and tells dad jokes ad nauseum and all of these other things. And then, and I credit one of my really good friends, and I credit my wife, right? Because it's kind of one of those, you chip away at the iceberg. You just keep saying the same damn thing, and at some point, split veers like Novocaine, it's going to work, right? And one of my good friends, I met her because I taught her kid, and it all comes full circle, right? I met her and her husband because I was teaching, and we ended up kind of becoming friends. After I ended up leaving the teaching industry, we stayed friends. Her son was great friends with my 3-year-old, and their birthdays are 4 days apart, so they all like to celebrate and do the cute, dorky 3-year-old things together. And that just continued. And then we went out, and my wife and I, and she and her husband, we went out to the Nutcracker, and then we went out and had drinks afterwards. And she was a couple 13, 14 in, and she looked right at me and she slapped the table and she said, "Webb, seriously, I could listen to you talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. You should do a fucking podcast." And I went, "Yeah, you're right." And Christy's like, "Yeah." Christy, my wife, she's like, "Yeah, dude, like, this is something I've been telling you for years. Like, all you want to do, everything that we've seen since I've been with you for these 9, almost 10 years that we've been together, all you talk about is how to help people and how to bring this about. And like, you could do it in a way that isn't boring or stupid or like dry. And even if you're talking about like when you tried to take your life, you're probably going to talk about that on your podcast." And I go, "Weirdly, I am going to, yes." With a whole, caveat of, trigger words and making sure that people are aware that those are going to be going into it. Like, it was that final chip of the iceberg. My friend and my wife kind of just tag teamed me and said, "Yo, seriously, do this." And that was December, the beginning of December. And I went, "Yep, I'm going to do this." And I went from, "Yep, I'm going to do this," to talking to you, honestly, Andrea, and realizing that instead of why wouldn't, right? And that's the biggest thing I want to share with anybody is why wouldn't people want to know about you, whoever the hell you are? And that's how I took it. I was like, why wouldn't people want to know what I've gone through? Why wouldn't people want to, identify as being a fucking nerd? Like, because, we all grew up being told that nerds are bad, nerds are negative, nerds are, whatever, nerds will never get laid, whatever you want to go with. And you want, like, I guarantee you, nerds do. And nerds are cool. And it's okay to be a nerd. My best friend on this planet, to whom I'm not married, looked at me and he said, "Dude, you are unique, but just like everybody else." And that is something else that kind of stuck with me as kind of the basis upon which I'm building Nerdinary. Like, I am unique. You are unique. Everyone is unique in unique ways and also in the exact same way. And because of that, we can all identify with something. And it went from like this sounds like a good idea to this sounds like a great idea to, yes, this is going to be the idea. And it was a matter of weeks. Like, it was the beginning of December. And then I started going live on Facebook just before Christmas. I think was the Wednesday right before Christmas was my first live saying, "Yep, so I'm thinking about this." And by that time, I'd already either talked with you or was about to talk with you. I had come up with a couple of names, realized that those names were already taken. And then I came up with the whole concept of Nerdinary, which it goes into just taking those nerdy things, making a part of your everyday life, and realizing that it's okay. it's not bad to be you, to be the nerd that you are. And it's been such a cool process so far since I've dropped these episodes already, that like I've gotten people reaching out going, dude, like I barely knew you. And like, and in my first episode, I talk a little bit about my siblings, like people that I've known for 25 years. They're like, dude, I knew that you had siblings, but like, I already can't wait to hear about them and how they have shaped you, who you are, and how I can relate to my own siblings because of that. Or like, I had a 2-hour late start in my teaching day for today, and because of that, I got a chance to listen to your podcast, and because of that, now I'm so much more on fire about being this music teaching nerd that I am, right? So like, it went from fledgling to huge, and that's the water that we sprinkled on it. So yeah,
I love it. It's exciting. Well, we'll plug where people can find it and where they can tune in. And do you have like a day that you're aiming for? Weekly, monthly?
Yep. So I aspire to, I love Mondays, and not everybody does. And that's okay. There's a lot of people who think Monday sucks. You know, my weekend's over, whatever.
It's our favorite day.
The best.
Monday is the best damn day on the week, every single week. Because it's brand new. It's fresh start. It's here we are, baby. Let's go. You know, last week was last week. Here we are, right? And really, you can have your Monday every damn day. But as far as Nerdinary goes, you can find me on Instagram. I don't have a web page yet because I am biting off of this sandwich in bites that I can chew, right? And I have wonderful, beautiful coding friends that know this website-based shit and HTML stuff. And I'm like, and they already reached out to me. They're like, yeah, I want to do this website for you. I'm like, cool. Whoa. So the biggest thing I am driving through is through Instagram. As far as finding extra information, you can find me on Instagram at Nerdinary Podcast. My podcast, Nerdinary, is on all major podcasting platforms: Apple, Amazon, Spotify, iHeart, all of the big major podcasting platforms, and all of those little dudes that are like under Apple. You can also find me there. I'm on Google Podcasts as well. So really anywhere. And even if you just go to the old Google machine and you just type in Nerdinary, which if you don't know how to spell it, you know how to spell ordinary, just take off the O and just put an N-E at the front instead. So it's nerd in airy, and it's all one word. And I will be dropping episodes every single Monday at 12:01 a.m. Central Standard Time. And from wherever you are, you can listen. And it is only in English because my Spanish is very bad. But that's a goal way down the road to somehow get that translated into different languages. But like, it is Mondays, every single Monday on every podcasting platform. And those are kind of the main ways that you can find me. And obviously my name is Webster Ford. I'm on Facebook. I talk about my stuff on Facebook all the time. So by all means, find me on Facebook. Message me, do me all that type of stuff right there too. So yeah.
And we'll of course plug everything in our show notes so people have access to you. You know, we believe using our platform as a light, and that's exactly what you're doing, empowering people to do whatever the hell they want that makes them feel like them. Well, not whatever the hell they want. You know what I mean?
Within reason, you know, and
right.
I led with this too, is like, as long as it doesn't harm somebody or the earth, go be your bad self. Go do whatever nerdy shit that makes you, that gives you, you know, a breath. And my episodes may have nothing to do with your life. You know, I'm going to do, I have an episode about teaching. I have an episode about running. Maybe you're not a runner. Maybe you think runners are freaking nuts, and that's fine.
We are.
Yeah, absolutely we are, right? We get this, we pay, and then we travel to get a sore ass and sore
blisters.
feet. Yeah, and oh my God, and losing your toenails, and like, no, so help me God. Yeah, it is an absolute maniacal thing, but it's the thing, right? And every single thing that I bring out that I'm nerdy about, there's the teacher in me. There's always this, okay, so I'm talking about this, and I don't care if you hate it or you love it or you think you're indifferent. This is how this is going to apply to you. You know, taking running lessons, you know, the marathon, not a sprint analogy, right? That can be in anywhere in your life, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's been really cool. And my whole goal every Monday is the thing that I came up with is to start your Mondays with light, love, laughter, and a little bit of levity to whatever it is that I'm talking about, and to just kind of spin that into your week, you know, and to completely steal from the Rembrandts from like 1992 to 2001. You know, it could be making your day, your week, your month, or maybe even your year. You know?
Love it. Beautiful. And because you're a new podcast host, we want to do something a little bit different this time. We want to do a little rapid fire with you so people get to know you. So we have some random questions. Rapid fire, first thing that comes to your mind.
Let's go.
It's going to be like unleashing Ivy on steroids. Are you ready?
I am completely ready. Let's go.
All right.
All right. Best movie of all time.
Aladdin.
Ooh. One meal for the rest of your life. What are you going to eat?
Chicken parm.
Favorite activity with your kiddos.
Throwing a Frisbee.
Oh, okay. What are you most proud of in your health journey?
The fact that I can. And the biggest accomplishment that I've gotten so far, I probably haven't even gotten to. But the biggest thing that I can say that I've already achieved is that I am a marathon finisher.
Hell yeah, you are. God, there's no better feeling.
God, I mean, outside of the fact that your legs are basically dead.
You should have seen Brooke's cankles.
Pass.
I was at the bar with my feet up with my boyfriend on one side, his best friend on the other, just rubbing their cold beer glasses on my ankles. And I'm like, guys, you need to take me home. They're like, you're fine. We're going to another bar. I'm like, get my ass home.
The hell I'm going to another bar.
But I did. And then Andrew and Justin are doing the frickin' what is that scene from
Like Dirty Dancing?
Dirty Dancing. And
Let's
I'm
go.
like, I do not have time for this.
I'm like,
Get my
Brooke,
ass
you're
home.
fine. Get on the dance floor with me.
It was brutal. But I'm proud of you because I know the pain.
Oh, God, it was real. And it, like, I've attempted 3. I've only finished 1.
Yeah, I don't need to attempt another.
Yeah,
I did it. Check.
Yep. I'm sniffing at 40. So, like, I have that weird, like, I'm almost 40. Like, I should probably run another marathon type of thing. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I kind of want to just run another half.
Yeah, we could do like a mud run together.
Let's go.
Have you ever done a color run? I could totally see you loving a color run.
I have never, and I've always
gosh.
wanted to.
I'll do one with you.
Let's
They're
go.
so
Foam
fun.
run?
Have you ever done one?
A foam run? Have you done a bubble run? Yo, that shit is fun.
That's gross.
No, man, you just swim through that shit. It's really fun.
The color run is super fun.
Yes, I've seen evidence, but I've never done one.
Okay, back on track.
Go on.
Dream guest on Nerdinary.
Oh, dream guest. I mean, besides Steve Carell, I'm a big Office nerd, huge of The Office. Steve Carell would be like dream come true. There's no other way about it, other than, random athletes. The first person, just you wanted first answer, Steve Carell.
Okay.
Good.
Favorite role you've played on stage?
Lumiere.
Oh, that was so good. Beauty and the Beast.
That's what I know you from.
Yep.
I saw the pictures.
So summer of 2022, I did Beauty and the Beast. It was my favorite role. I was Lumiere. I did not realize I needed to be Lumiere. When I auditioned, I wanted to be LeFou or Cogsworth. I knew my best friend was going to be cast as Gaston, so I was like, God, this would be badass to be LeFou. But they called
Who's
me.
LeFou?
He is that little twerp that Gaston kind of punts around.
He wanted to be the twerp.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be my best friend's twerp, right? It would have been fun as shit.
Oh, funny.
But like, no, they called and they said, dude, you're going to be Lumiere. And I went, dude, you know that Lumiere is like thin, like super thin and like real tall, right? And they're like, yeah, we know you're neither of those, but we also know that you're like perfect for everything else of it. And I went, shit, yeah, let's go. And it was awesome. And then plus it was my first show that I'd ever done with one of my kids. My daughter Maggie was in the show.
Cute.
And the costumers were freaking brilliant. They changed the costume style for her because we got a new costumer halfway through the show. And they came up to me, they said, Webb, we know you are a candle. Would you mind if we made her a votive? And I went, that would be adorable. Let's go. So yeah, it's so damn cute. And it made the role even more special and more powerful. So yeah, it was phenomenal. And it speaks exactly to why I work so damn hard in the gym, because I had to dance and sing and sweat my ass off because it was all polyester and it was foam on my head. And oh my God. So yes, Lumiere.
Okay, another question. Childhood crush.
Like celebrity childhood crush or like
Yeah,
okay.
someone we know.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I mean, I could have been like, well, no. Celebrity crush growing up was Topanga Lawrence. Danielle Fishel, by the way.
No idea.
From Boy Meets World or Girl Meets World.
Oh, Topanga.
Yeah, Topanga.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, she was cute.
Understatement. And we share the same birthday.
Gym preference, upper body or lower body?
Yes. I like it all.
What's your favorite?
Yes.
Leg day is best day, dude.
Leg day.
Leg day, best day. Without having leg day, you can't run. Let's go.
God, no way. I'm sore like 3 days later.
Well, then you're not stretching right.
You want to talk about stretching? Talk to this girl. Okay, next question. Hardest part about losing weight?
Realizing that it doesn't happen like that. It sucks because it's a process, and you forget that it didn't come on overnight, but you want it to come off overnight.
Got it. Favorite musical of all time?
Favorite musical of all time, West Side Story. Closely followed by Rent and Hamilton and Les Mis. All like 1A, 1B, 1C.
Worst part about being a grown-up?
Bills?
Dream vacation?
Not here. Ireland, honestly.
Ireland.
I would love to go back to Ireland.
All right. Dream big, baby.
Favorite thing about Christy?
God, the fact that she puts up with my shit. I mean, this could be a whole episode. Everything is my favorite thing about Christy. She puts up with my shit. She smiles. She gets that I am an attention whore.
She has a beautiful smile.
My God, it's ridiculous.
So pretty.
It is not fair. I still remember, one of my best friends, when I said that we started dating and they had met her, she told me, she said, dude, if you fuck this up, I'm going to have to probably stay friends with her because she's way cuter. And I went, yeah, that's fair. Literally everything. She is a woman of faith. She's a teacher. She's passionate, and she understands how to allow the limelight, and to not just me, but to our kids. And she is the epitome of a partner.
I love that. Oh, beautiful. All right, just because I know the answer to this, but it's important to establish, what's the best team in the NFL?
Green Bay Packers, dog.
I did not know he was a Packer fan.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I have a cheesehead in
And
my
you were
house.
Johnny. My boyfriend was a Johnny.
Oh, he's already good.
He's a good guy. Yes, he is. All right, last question. Best 2 podcasts in the world?
Well, Nerdinary and Ivy Unleashed.
Of course.
Of course. I also happen to listen to a lot of podcasts. I take my inspiration from a lot, but the ones that I drive from most are the ones that I identify with most. The 2 that I drew most inspiration from as far as how to make my format was The Office Ladies and Smartless.
Funny.
I love both of those in the way that they have them lined out, and I kind of modeled mine. I mean, granted, not an hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes worth of a podcast long, but that's kind of where I've drawn those from.
All right, Webster, it is time for your Nerdinary 3 gold stars.
So first, always aspire to whatever you are. You can't be anybody else, so you may as well be the best nerd that you possibly can be. My second gold star is to embrace your emotions all of the time. No matter what the hell they are, always take your emotions as exactly as they are and share them with the people that you love. And my last gold star is to take the 3 words that are some of the most powerful words in this world and never, ever take them for granted. Always say, I love you. Before the door hits you in the back, before they leave, before you don't know if you're going to see them again, say, I love you. Before you hang up the phone, say, I love you. That is the most nerdy damn thing you can do.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you. And I feel like it's so important for people to see, and I kind of said this before, but someone as bubbly and energetic and lively as you've been through a lot. You've had some really big loss and hit a rock bottom and been through divorce, and you keep choosing to show up this way, right? And I can imagine it's always easy, but I'm just happy that you're willing to share this with us and with our listeners, especially as a male. I just think I'm so happy you're here today for a lot of reasons, but especially because you've shared some really personal things, and we just appreciate you opening up to us that way.
Well, thank you. And I don't take for granted the fact that I'm here, knowing that you guys have such a broader reach, because of course I am here to talk about my podcast and pump the hell out of that, but it's at the basis of who I am. And it's for everybody that we can all be who the hell we're supposed to be. And I said it in the gold stars, and I'll say it over and over and over. It's all about love. And it's all about that active freaking choice. And you said it, I choose. And so many people think that at times this is some type of caricature. This is not. I am all this is who the hell I am. There are times that I'm going through shit and I'm a little bit cranky here and there, or maybe it's because I haven't been laid for a while, or I need to, whatever. But I am not a caricature, and this is exactly who I am. And I have gone through shit, and it's proof that you can go through shit and still choose to realize that there's other things. One of my closing thoughts that I want to go on is I went on a men's retreat shortly after I had attempted my life, and I was with a lot of men who had gone through worse shit. And it wasn't anything as far as a comparison, it's oh wow, they went through this. Oh wow. And they're still here. Right. But it was a Catholic led men's retreat, and one of the priests that was help leading it, he came up and he gave this sweet speech just about like dealing with crap and dealing with life. And then, the thing that rocked me was the priest stood up there and he said, so this is where we're going to close it. Jesus is like a fertilizer, is like a fantastic master gardener. He's going to take the shit that you go through and he's going to make it into this fantastic garden. As long as you trust and as long as you choose. And it blew my mind because I heard a priest say shit, you know, and then at the same time, it brought it to this real level because I had just gone through. Like it was December that I had attempted my life. It was that June. So like it was 6 months. And I took that retreat and it made me realize, and it's okay. And if you are a guy that's listening right now to this podcast, for one, good on you, because this is definitely much more geared towards women. But dude, if you're an actual dude, as opposed to like how I address people as all dudes, everyone's a dude, kind of the whole good burger thing. You're a dude, I'm a dude, she's a dude, he's a dude. But if you are an actual identifying male and you are listening to this, like, know that it's totally okay to A, go through shit, 2, identify it, and still come out with it and be okay. Like, and it's so cool to realize that you are at the very least okay. Even if you're going through shit, you're still okay.
Yeah, I love that. We love you. We love your light.
I love you very much.
We love your openness, and we're so grateful.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for like the insight, because you spilled out insight on how to do this podcasting thing, because this is still very new to me, even though I know like the technical side. There's a lot of shit that I don't know, and I still don't know what I don't know. And I just appreciate you. I love you guys, and I appreciate you, and I thank you for having me here and letting me be part of this.
Of course. Yes. Well, we love you too. And as you know, we always leave our listeners with a piece of gold. Would you like to share yours, Webster Ford?
Yes. The biggest piece of gold, and I've said it and I'll keep coming back to it, is love. Choose love, you know, and do good. Not do well. Don't try to correct that. Do good to yourself, to others, to things around you. Love, choose, do good.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold.